Good morning and welcome to our Maintaining the Energy webinar. I'm Tracy Burrows. I'm the Executive Director of MRSC. And again, I want to welcome you to the third in our series of Inspiring a Performance Culture webinars. I want to thank the State Auditor's Office for sponsoring these webinars. And today's webinar is going to be presented by Larissa Benson and John Dixon, who I will introduce in a moment. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our Performance Consortium. This webinar is brought to you under their auspices, and there's a couple of ways you can hook into them coming up soon. One is our Facebook channel, the Government Performance Consortium. You can just type those words in on Facebook, find us, and join the conversation there. And then second is a super fantastic Lean and Beyond conference for local government. It's December 8th at the University of Washington-Tacoma. We'll be talking a little bit about it at the end of our webinar today, but you can register at the MRSC website under training. Our presenters today have a wealth of experience in helping local government agencies innovate and get us all firing on all cylinders. They're going to inspire us today to bring our best to the office every day. They are Larissa Benson, who is the co-creator of the Government Performance Consortium, and John Dixon, who's the Chief Operations Officer for Spokane County, and I am super excited about their presentations. Just a few technical notes before we get started. During the webinar, if you have technical difficulty, just go to your control panel and type in the question and answer area and let us know what's going on. You can also call us at our number that is up there on the screen. Also, very important is on the handouts portion of your control panel, you'll find today's slides. So we'll also be posting the slides on our website and also the entire presentation. But right now, you can download the handouts and have them and take notes and whatever else you'd like to do with those. Just a bit about MRSC. I'm hoping that you all know about us and you've used our resources. Our website is just absolute fabulous resources for you. You can also email us or call us, and we'll connect you to the resources you need on all kinds of questions, including questions around government performance. So before we get started today, we're going to, for the benefit of our speakers, give you a sense, to give them a sense of where you are on your lean journey. How do you do a little bit of a poll? So just click in and let us know where you are.
Everybody's voting.
I'll give you just a few more seconds to finish up your answer.
Vote now if you want to keep John and Larissa on next week's American Idol.
Vote for me.
Okay, I'm going to
70% voted. Super.
And share those poll results. So many are just curious to learn. About a third just starting to think about where we are. 14% sustaining change seems to be a perennial issue, and another chunk on just starting to struggle and on a high now, but worried about going into a dip.
Great. I want to give a shout out to everybody who was vulnerable enough to express that they're having a little bit of struggles. Really appreciate you owning up to that. We have all been there, right, John?
Oh, I'm there right now. So
feeling your pain with you.
Okay, with that, Larissa's already taken off, and there you go. Oh,
thank you.
Oh, one more note is that you can also see the first two parts of these webinar series on our website at the link that you see.
Great. Well, thank you, Tracy, for the warm welcome to MRSC for hosting our webinar today. And to my partner, John, it is great to share this little spot on the internet with you and everybody who's chosen to spend this hour with us. We're going to make it really fun because that's part of our recipe. John and I put together this recipe for you. We took the very best of what was in our pantry and mixed it all up for a delicious serving of what it takes to really maintain the energy after you have started the first few steps on your lean journey, or even if you have been in it for a few years and are just wondering how to keep it fresh, how to keep people engaged, and how to keep it meaningful. So these are the 5 elements of our recipe. Number 1 is make it visible. People need some visual evidence that change is actually happening in order to sustain the energy. Number 2 is make it personal. People need to feel an emotional, personal connection to the purpose and to the goal, and they need to know where they are in what is happening. Number 3 is to make it safe. Removing fear allows us to look and see what's wrong with clarity. It helps us to fail and learn from failures. And fear, if you remove it, it allows the creativity to flow, and then with that comes solutions and innovation. Number 4 in our recipe is to make it fun. Celebrate your successes and your stumbles. This is my personal favorite aspect of maintaining the energy, because no matter what ails you, laughter is the best medicine. And number 5, making it matter. When you're asking people to make change, you know, the goal has to be compelling enough to leave behind the old ways and try something new. And if you focus on what really matters, you'll find you have a renewable source of energy in the clarity of purpose. All right. Let's start with number 1, make it visible. John, what you got for us?
Well, I'm about 7 years new to government after about 30 years in private industry, Boeing most of it. And one thing I realized is that in my previous life, making stuff, you could always see it. You could see the product. You could see the successes. You could see the issues. When you get oversized holes, when you get mismatched hardware, you could see it. What you saw was inanimate, not alive, not collectively bargained. You could see it. And when we had issues and improvement opportunities, you could see these things. What I found, those of us in government, you know, we provide more services, and a lot of it is very invisible. And when I got into government, one of the first things I realized is, oh my gosh, so much of what we do is so invisible. We just cannot see what we're doing. So both at the state, and I worked with employment security for about 3.5 years, and now at the county, one of the biggest initial efforts we do is making our processes visible. And what you see here is just a couple examples of what we've done in Spokane County in 2 of my organizations. The first one there in purchasing, and talking to my director and staff, I said, well, you know, how many requests for procurements do we work on at any point in time? How fast are they going through our system? You know, that stuff that lean type folks ask and we want to see. And the feedback I got was we really don't know. So we took about 2 hours and we created this visual board on the left. And what my procurement team said is that, you know, we've got about 7 stages that just about any request for procurement goes through. So then what we decided to do was, okay, let's make that visible. And now the next question I asked was, what type of procurements do you get? And what you can see is there's a legend down below that corresponds to the colors of every one of those, I'll call them Post-its. So every one of those Post-its is a different single, we call it projects, but it's a request for procurement. And what this team has been doing as part of their daily huddle is they're tracking and they're watching every day the progression of these projects through the system. Now, this team argued with me early on that this information is in our computer system, which it is, but still it's just not visible. And so as we made this visible, as we made it part of our daily huddles, there's a second board that we're not showing you here. We're collecting the data, we're collecting the information, you know, on how fast these are going through. But when you look at this initially, one of the things that we realized, you can see that there's a lot of the red Post-its early on in stages 1, 2, and 3. Those are what we call, if you look below, our public works. Those are our most comprehensive contracts. They take the longest time. And when we saw this, we started asking questions like, wow, why do we have so many so early? It turned out we only had one of our procurement agents certified, and he, in this case, was overwhelmed. He was working too hard. So just by making this visible and then tracking it, we're getting a much better understanding, and it's helping us keep our energy up on this stuff. We've retrained a second person now to handle these public works contracts, and it's helping move these things through faster. On the right, I worked with my utilities team, environmental services we call it, and one of the challenges we saw was that as we approve plat reviews, let's say we've got a developer and they want to develop 50 lots in this one area. Well, how long and what process do we use by which to get that fully approved from utilities? We'll put in the sewer, the water, this type of stuff. And what we realized, my director realized, is we didn't have a standard process for doing this. So we did about an hour and a half mapping event where we mapped out the current state, and then we did a future state. And across the top, what you'll find are the main steps in the future state that we wanted to do. And now what this team does, the projects are on the vertical column. This is real time. This team meets 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we just keep adding different projects on the left. These are different plat reviews. And what we ask of our managers is, hey, just use this checklist and work your way through the process. And what this has really helped with us here at the county is really to make this process more standard. We found our managers were doing this very differently. So this is just examples of how we try to maintain the energy here, making our processes very visible, and really learning. This is all about learning. Both these organizations, both my purchasing team and environmental services team, now have learned so much just by looking at this from 3 to 5 times a week, having that as the center of our conversation.
Neat. Here's another conversation. This one is happening over in Kitsap County. And one of the things that John and I and a lot of people who have been working on this idea of translating these Toyota production system principles into the public sector is, where's our assembly line, right? How do we know where things are? Where's my stuff? What am I supposed to do? How are we making progress? Where are we having issues? Well, usually in the public sector, your stuff or the assembly line is in one of 3 places. Number 1 place, somebody's head, Alfonso. If you want to know where something is, you got to find Alfonso. You can't find Alfonso, then you don't know what's going on. Number 2, in a computer system. It's in something called EnterGov. If you don't have the magic passkey or that computer system's too confusing, then you can't see what's going on. Or number 3, and unfortunately a lot of stuff is still buried in paper files. So what you're looking at here are a couple of really happy people, and they have their computer system open. These folks work on permits, and they have that computer system open, but what really works for them is this handwritten whiteboard that shows what's really happening right now. Who's working on what permit? Where is it? Where are they having issues? They're also smiling because they took down the walls in their cubicle. So in the vast array of the public gray cubicle enterprise, they're bringing down a couple of those walls. It allows them to see each other. It allows them to see their work, and it allows them to have a better time. All right, making it personal.
What's really key here I've found is that everyone who's listening to this, and I include myself, we all ask that WIIFM with any of these initiatives. What's in it for me? And we got to be in a position to be able to really answer those questions. And whether within your agency you've got a strategic plan, you've got departmental goals, whatever it is, it's really important, I found, is to keep the energy up on these initiatives, which can take a lot of energy. When you lead change, it takes a lot of energy out of ourselves, out of our organizations, to do this stuff that's new and different, and we're not going to be great at it every time, especially early on. And so one of the things I found is that it's really important to keep connecting the dots back, keep going back to why are we doing this stuff. On the left, I found this, these important aspects of leading organizational change. It was from, and when you really study this, everything from top management sponsorship, shared vision, corporate culture, those lighter colors are all soft factors. As you look down below, the efficient structure, skill set of project team, which are still very important, but in this survey, what's really, really important is that people, you get into their hearts. To keep the energy going in these big initiatives, you've got to get into people's hearts. The head isn't enough. It's got to get into the hearts. And some of the pictures I'm just showing on the right are just snapshots. I'm a monstrous fan of the daily huddles. 5 minutes, 10 minutes max every morning. Get your team around something. My environmental services team is up on the upper right. In the lower right is my Spokane County Animal Protection team. And, I love this picture because if you see those two in the back, one with her arm around the other, that's what this stuff's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, first off, about learning, about every day, every week, seeing the collective results of what we're doing in a non-threatening, we'll talk about that in a bit, about making it safe. But you got to keep this stuff visible. But those of us in management positions, supervisory positions, we got to enable this stuff to occur. And we got to help our team see why we're doing it. Things have been working for 10 years, 15 years. Why do we have, and everyone listening today, you face this, and it's real. And we have to address this stuff. So in addition to step one, making it visible, we also got to make it personal. And that also means that we have to listen well. And what I found in senior management, we also have to be extraordinarily teachable. We got to be taught. When we see the realities of what's really going on with our strategies, we got to be really willing and able to be taught on things that might have to be changed, because of what strategically we're trying to do right at the front lines where our staff are working with our customers. If it's just not translating there, we either got to get down there and continue to work with these teams, or we got to do some shifting of some of our strategies to make sure that what we're really looking for is really working. So we got to be humbled by this stuff, but we got to make this stuff very personal. Once again, I found this really does keep the energy up. So what we tried to do when I got here at the county, and this was in 2013, we had no strategic plan at all. And one of my first thoughts was, oh my gosh, what we have to do here is make sure that as we do these continuous improvement activities, that our staff have got a sense of why, why, towards what. And it's been a real team-based effort, but different types of teams. It starts on top with our executive team. We did agree that we do want a strategic plan. And in my executive team, also we decided, we do want to be able to see, we want to become more of a performance-based culture, which is so much of what these three series have been, these three presentations have been about. How do we become even more performance-based? So what we did then, instead of us just telling everybody what our strategic plan was, we incorporated on the left a strategic planning team. We got some of our 8 to 10 of our department heads and just threw down a challenge. What does our strategic plan need to look like? And in the lower left, you'll see something that looks like a house. One thing I've learned over the years, both in private industry and now in government, if we can't share our strategic plan in a one-page picture, we just don't understand it enough. One-page pictures like this tend to get into people's hearts, and we talk about making it personal. As important, in my opinion, behind the scenes as an 18-page document is, with all the tactics in Microsoft Word, it does not get into people's hearts. So my challenge to all of you out there, within your team, within your department, can you make it visible? What we did, if you look at our strategic plan, which we've just updated through 2018, and it looks just the same, you'll see 4 pillars: customer service, financial stewardship, public engagement, and employee development. These are the foundation of all the continuous improvement activities. These are our key objectives at the county. So what we did is we formed 4 key objective teams. We do this every 2 years. And what they do is they identify very big projects that we need to focus on at the county in order to hit some of our goals. And then what we do based on these projects is we charter, and this is where we get our frontline staff involved. We do charters. In the upper right-hand side, you'll see we've got a standard project charter. The one that you see there just happens to be page 1 of our enhanced website. And we just implemented this a few months ago, but we radically enhanced our website. the point here is that there is a connecting the dots from our executive team to our strategic team to our, these teams all work together, and we do our best here at the county to help connect the dots with all of our 2,100 staff here. We're not doing as effective job as we need to do, but the point here is that we are very, very intentional of making this very personal and showing folks why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing.
You know, John, can we just stay on that for a moment, because I love that you have pulled everything together. I love seeing these little people, these little pictures of people, and having experienced what's gone on in Spokane County. It really is alive with humans, and you've brought together so many dimensions. And I just want the folks out there who are paying attention to this webinar to make a note to yourself to go out and check out John's website. And he's giving you the visuals here so you have a little breadcrumb trail to find some of this awesome stuff. We're trying to offer up some things that we've seen that we hope will be useful and interesting for you to use. And we're both really interested in your versions of the same things. So hats off to you, John, and thank you for being willing to share your really specific, concrete examples.
And I also thank you, Larissa. I just want to share with all of you, maybe as you're listening, you're a supervisor, you can still do this whole concept within your team. Ask yourself within your service group, within what is your strategies? What are some of your key objectives? And perhaps at your state agency, your county agency, your city, you do have something you can connect back into. I'm blessed here to be able to do this from the executive level and work it on through our organization. But you can do the same thing here, the same idea, just within your team of 6 or 7. You can do the same thing. So, but you got to get into people's heart.
Yeah, and you got to do it with Buddy. So making it scalable. Let's look at this next picture. This is a picture of Veronica. Veronica works at the city of Seattle, and her job is to help people stop putting food in their garbage. But there's a reason why she wants to help encourage people to stop putting food in their garbage. And it has to do with a couple of aspects that are really important to the people who pay their garbage bills. One is, if we got less stuff going in and less stuff going out of the households and into the landfills, then it's going to keep the rates low. And it might not occur to you right away unless you have Veronica out there helping you to understand that we all have a role to play in keeping the rates low and keeping the environment healthy. Veronica, what she does every day is she teaches classes and she hands out brochures and has website information that is meant to help change behavior. And this little picture here is another example of making it personal, connecting the dots from the very small scale all the way up the chain to the very high level. Frequently I get questions from folks who are like, I don't understand. We're trying to community indicators, but it just seems so far out there. How can I actually make a difference in carbon emissions? How can you really expect one person or one program or one agency to make a difference? And this is another example of how we use some of these visual tools to help people connect what they do every day, distributing information on edible food waste, to the ultimate outcome of maintaining low rates and making a difference in our mental health, and being very specific each step of the way, making it clear what's our logic, why do we do that, how would we know if we were making progress, how can we show what we're doing makes a difference. It's about making the invisible very visible. And safe. I love this view. We have these markers here. Everybody needs a clue about how to keep safe, especially when you're trying to do hard work together. So earlier I mentioned in our recipe that safety is the key to releasing creativity. And this is another big sticking point for organizations when they're trying to make change. There are some folks who will say we make it safe, make it safe to fail forward, fail often. How do you actually make people feel safe? And one of the ways to do that is to make it normal. So you know how the first time you go to a new group or it's a new committee, or let's say it's even a city council meeting and you're not used to speaking in front of these folks. And the first time you do it, it's scary, and you don't do it for a few meetings because you're not sure if you should speak up or if it's going to be okay. And eventually you do pipe up, and then the more you speak, you find it gets easier and easier. Same thing with lean. Same thing with measuring performance. If you take it a bite at a time, if you have a daily habit, it's just going to make it more normal, and it makes it more okay. John mentioned that he's a big fan of the daily huddles. Me too. Breakfast of champions. Let's all get together, grab our cup of coffee, and take a look at what the heck is going on. It dramatically increases our chances that we'll be on the same page, coordinate our efforts, stay focused on our goals, and be able to solve problems and help one another as it happens real time if we're all looking at the same thing. You see, all these people are organized around their objective. So instead of looking at one another, as in like, hey, Tracy, what are you doing? What have you done lately? Why is your stuff all messed up? They are actually looking at their problem together, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, figuring out what's really going on here. What could we do to make a difference, and how do we know what's going on? If they practice this every day for 15 minutes, it's going to become a lot more normalized than if you only look at some red, yellow, green reports once a year and have one conversation about it.
And one thing that we've done at the county is I just do not use the word failure anymore. Whenever you lead change, whenever you lead improvement activities, when your team starts doing something different, they're not going to be great at it. And that's a lot of the fear. We have a lot of fear in, I'll just say, government. Things are so invisible. And what I've seen happens when something historically at Spokane County has gone wrong, what's the visible manifestation of the problem? It's the person. And we get into then what I call blame storming, not brainstorming, blame storming. So what I found as we are making our processes more visible, a lot of people instinctively here at the county, it really increased their fear factor, their CYA factor, which is very well honed in many governmental agencies, but it's just from years of not seeing the processes and making it personal. So what we use here is stumble. As you do things differently towards higher customer service, et cetera, you're going to stumble. And what's really important to Larissa's point is that when you have these daily get-togethers, the stumbles tend to not be too big. If you don't see stuff and you only once a quarter take a look at how things are going, what you inadvertently do is you set up your teams to potentially have some very big stumbles, very big, if you're not looking at it too often. So, you know, to get into people's heart, to make it okay to see things 5 to 10 to 15 minutes a day is very important. When I got here at the county, the picture you see here, I taught a lean leadership course. It was a 4-week course, just 2 hours a week. But each of my participants, which started out as department heads and elected officials, to get them used to this concept, to make it safe, we had to identify real stuff that was going on. And what you see above Steve, our director, is from 2005 to 2013, the total amount of time lost paid. This was a workers' compensation metric. And when we saw this, you know, of course, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh my gosh, we've got a process that has not been improving. But we took the fear out of this. We said, Steve, hey, thank you for bringing this up. What are we going to do? And we don't have the time here to go through the amazing things that Steve, as he led our improvement team on this one. But if you go to the right, we see 2013. That one blue bar, the first one, that equates to about $600,000. You can tie that directly to the chart on the left. That's up there at about $600,000. So the chart on the right is just a continuation of the story from the left-hand chart. And you can see through some amazing efforts, mainly working with the doctors in this region on when we get somebody with some type of an injury that becomes a workers' comp claim. And working with the doctor, we're able to get our staff safely back to work much, much more quickly. And it's resulted in over $450,000, $500,000, and this is real taxpayer money that is not going, these are hard, true savings. This is not avoidance, this is true hard savings. So we've continued this, but the key here in this make it safe is we got to not only make it safe for, in my case, a whole department to show that chart on the left, like things are getting out of control without a fear of repercussion in Steve's case, but we're also in the same time, we're really making it much more safe here at the county to work. Because, you know, what we do in our jail, what we do on our roads, there's a lot of opportunities for injury, our sheriff's department. So this is just a tribute, you know, to making it visible. And the key here also, just got to mention, it's not only making our challenges visible, the chart on the left, we also have to do a much better job in government overall of making our successes visible. We do not celebrate enough the noble, amazing work we do in government. And the chart on the right is just another example. Every one of you out there has got stories like this. We just got to be more intentional to make it visible. And as we make these success stories much more visible, it just creates a safer environment, and it keeps the energy up. This is all about maintaining the energy. And every one of us, me included, you need these good news stories to keep going, to keep slogging through the challenges that we have to go through to radically enhance our processes.
Yeah. Wait, you got to stay on that John slide, because I'm in love with John's slides. I want everybody to see how beautiful they are, because he just said telling the story. Look how well this story is told on one slide. You see the human being. You see the data. It's really obvious. We're talking about a significant time loss reduction. And in this story are many other stories, because you know what it means when people don't have another time loss claim? It means somebody got better faster. It means maybe we learned how people could not get hurt again next time. It means that somebody who had been working maybe the most of their lives serving the public, their employer actually cared enough to reach out to them and their doctor and help them get healthy and get back on the job. So there's an outside story about how much money we saved, and there's an inside story about caring about the employees, about making a difference in their everyday experience, and about celebrating their successes. So that to me is fun. And fun is my favorite topic. I love the beautiful image of the fall leaves. So if you find a pile of leaves out there today, I encourage you to copy this right here. Do exactly what this woman is doing. Make sure no squirrels or doggies pooped in it first, but then just throw those leaves up in the air and celebrate life. So before we go to the next slide, I want to tell you the story about a group I was working with, some folks in HR, and talk about getting hurt at work. It's not just getting your finger squished in the maintenance operations shop. Sometimes it's getting your nose out of joint, because it seems no matter how hard you try, people are always complaining about the work you do. And this was happening to HR, and they're not the only HR shop I've ever heard get a lot of pressure about not being able to hire people timely. So what it means when somebody's got a vacant position is everybody else has got to carry the load. Everybody's anxious. It takes a long time to move through the bureaucracy, and I need a person on my team now. So I'm working with this team, and they're suffering. They're suffering from this perception that they're not doing a good job. They're suffering for a lot of reasons, and when they came to face what they were really about, they were able to break through that, and they just had the most fun. And it all started with paying attention to each other and the fact that one person on the team was kind of a Trekkie fan. By the time we were ready to go before City Council and show the results of what this team did, and they had phenomenal results, which I'll share with you in just a moment, this is what City Council and 25% of the entire city saw when they walked into the room where this lean team was doing their report out. Yes, they had Spock and Kirk making the report out. They had the mayor and the department heads doing the voiceovers and basically reenacting what it feels like when it's time to hire somebody onto your team and you need someone, and the captain's calling down and he's saying, I need somebody now. And Scotty's in HR saying, hi, Captain, I'm giving it all I got. And then the poor hiring manager is getting this room full of trebles, like 400 job applications, and you can't sort through them, and it doesn't, what do I got here? I got a bunch of, folks, it doesn't look like it matches what my job needs. And this just really captured everybody's imagination, and as Homer Simpson would say, it's funny because it's true. This is exactly how people were feeling about their process. When they lightened up and had some fun about this, they were able to reduce their hiring process by 50%. And because they felt good about it and they had a good time, they kept going. They have been able to sustain this change. They are now completely revamping their onboarding process. So just like with the permit examples that we showed earlier, people had a phenomenal breakthrough. Those pictures that we showed you, another reason they're happy, commercial permits that used to take 36 months now happen in 11 months. And after commercial permits had a 70% reduction in time and people were feeling good about that, then they worked on tenant improvements. And then tenant improvements begat over-the-counter permits. And over-the-counter permits begat business licensing reductions. It used to take a month to get a business license, now it takes a day. So when you can look clearly, make it visible, make it personal, lighten up and have some fun, it is amazing what people will come up with.
Same thing at the county. Once again, it takes a lot of energy, as all of you know listening, to lead and to participate in these activities. It gets wonky, it gets hard at times. And if it's not fun, you're not going to want to do it, nor is your staff going to want to do it. So one thing we really intentionally do here at the county is that first off, we collect our success stories. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll see we created an intranet application. We call it our County Improvements Portal. And as we complete projects here at the county that are staff-initiated and staff-led, we capture the success stories and trying to make it fun. The example here is, Larissa talks about permits. With my parks department here, if any of folks out here in Spokane wanted to get a permit for their car club for a one-day event at one of our parks, it used to be about a 2-week process, completely paper-based. When Doug Chase, my department leader, in the picture he's on the left, took the class I was teaching, he says, okay, we're going to attack this special event permit. We're down to under a day now on average. The other thing we're doing very intentionally is that picture was taken in our county commissioner's hearing room. And what we do is, as we capture the stories and make them visible, in our portal, we also make these stories visible to my county commissioners and the rest of the executive team. And while it's a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes for my teams to get in front of my commissioners and that, it's very important. We make this fun. You can see, there's our team there, part of my parks team, who helped enable this thing to occur. Another reason we do this is a lot of times we do have reporters from the Spokesman Review, that's our regional newspaper, in the back listening. Now, are they always looking for good news stories? No. But every couple of weeks, our reporters keep hearing these stories, and if you're interested, down in the lower left here is actually a link. The reporter who was watching this day actually captured my team's story here and put it in the Spokesman Review. So we're trying to make this stuff fun. We're trying to reward this behavior of the stumbling that we go through to get to these success stories. Are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. Are other counties doing this better? Probably, but we're doing pretty darn good. So just as you're listening out there, find ways of making your story very visible. This is about performance also. Inspiring a performance culture. Performance is all about making this stuff visible, learning your journey. It's the journey. It's not the end. It's the journey that you and your team go through. Capture the journey. Make the journey very visible. And as you have some successes, celebrate it, make it fun, and make sure others understand that also. We don't do a good enough job in government of sharing our success stories. We do far more good than we're given credit for, especially through the press. So keep making it intentional. The vast majority of our stories still are not getting out there, but we make sure we do celebrate within the county because we do have control over that. Another thing we have done is in January we did kick off our Key Performance Indicators website. Took all of my directors through just the basics of performance management. And what you see, the left-hand page is what our home page looks like. All you got to do is Google Spokane County Performance Indicators. You can see this. It's on the internet. What's interesting though is here on the left, this is the actual key performance indicator associated with special event permits, that success story I just told you about. And just to quickly take you through this, it's a by-month collection. The blue bars is by-month account of how many special event permits we get requests for. And that's aligned with the left-hand axis, the actual number of permits. So you can see we're very seasonal. We do have 4 seasons out here in Spokane, and things drop off to almost nothing in November, December, January, snow. But you can see what's been happening recently. We're getting a more and more of a, as this even went public, we're finding more and more people want to use our services. That's good. The green line that you see is what the team themselves set as their goal for time now to process a permit. That's aligned with the right-hand vertical column, which is days to issue permit. Remember, we went from about 14 days in 2013. You can see right here, we're just down to the 0, 1, 2 days. What's very interesting for me in the discussions that we're having with the parks team, the black line is the actual average number of days to issue a permit each month. And what's very interesting here is you see, as good as my parks team is, they still, even this year in 2016, the green line, they still have this thought in their mind that the more permits that we're going to see, the green line, the longer it's going to take us to do it. You see that? But look what's actually happening. The opposite's true. If you look at the black as compared to the green, the more permits we have, the less time it takes us to issue these permits. So for me personally, this is the learning that's going on here with that good news story, where we're averaging 0.9 or less now. You can see we're averaging less than that, which is great. Same day, which is really cool. I'll be very interested next year. My challenge in 2017 is that green line when we project that out. We'll be very interested to see if that team makes that green line follow more of what the black line, the actual line's been doing. But this is supposed to be the fun of a performance, a culture, inspiring a performance culture, and how you maintain the energy. This is really about learning. So a good news story. Making it matter. We do noble work in government, very noble work. And as we've done what we've been doing out here, we were very blessed. One of the big things that we've been focusing on regionally is radical criminal justice reforms. Big, hairy, it's tough, man. It's a big thing that takes in cities, counties, a whole bunch of different elected officials, from prosecutors to judges, a big thing. We were very honored earlier this year to be one of only 11 sites that got a $1.7 million MacArthur Foundation grant. And so what we're doing is we're taking these things that we've been talking about today, that we've been doing just within, I'll call it the county organization, and now we're able to spread this out across the entire region. We're experimenting. Our city has got a community court, and that article on the right shows how, you know, we're experimenting with some different things now in our criminal justice system to, we're trying to radically reduce our jail population but increase public safety at the same time. That's a big challenge. But this is really getting into the hearts of a lot of folks, and we've got a lot of folks also from the public who are really participating. Could we go to the next chart? So this is where we're taking this stuff that we're doing at the county and we're making it big. At the end of 2013, our mayor of the city of Spokane, which is the biggest city in Spokane County, and our commissioners, we got 3 individuals together. They created over in the year of 2013 what's called the Blueprint for Reform. So that came out a few years ago. It really helped enable us get this grant. But all I'm showing you here is how we're currently aligned to make these big regional things that are going to matter in this region, how we're aligned. Not going to get into all the specifics of this, but our Law and Justice Council, kind of there in the middle, the 22 members, that includes 2 members of the public that's helping us lead this stuff. But all these subcommittees and work groups that you see at the bottom, these are groups of folks that we get together specifically focused on a process improvement activity. I'll just put it that way. risk needs responsivity. As folks are arrested, how do we get them out on supervised leave a lot quicker as opposed to being stuck in jail, and so forth. It's very fun for me to watch when you've got judges next to prosecutors, next to citizens, next to public defenders, all in the same room trying to figure this stuff out, all of us in a learning mode on what's going on. So this is just an example where we're trying to take things that we've done within the county, and now we're starting to spread it out across the region. A lot of challenges. We're still stumbling a lot, but there are some real successes that are starting to come out of this. And one of our responsibilities as one of these 11 sites across the nation to be getting this is that we're sharing this across the nation now, and things that we're starting to realize. So this is just trying to make an example. This is really mattering out here for a lot of people, and taking this in continuous improvement, this lean mentality, and spreading it across the region. It's still extraordinarily challenging, but we're getting some things in place that we really want to continue to share our stories of success and of stumble, because I think we're all going through this stuff.
It's just beautiful, John, and I have great confidence for luck. If you can turn the curve in the area of criminal justice reform, that is a beautiful example of making it matter. It was just awesome.
Thank you.
So with that, we're going to launch another one of our polls. What is your #1 challenge in sustaining your change culture initiative?
Yeah, we told you ours. We want to know yours. Ooh, thank you for responding.
And as you're doing this, if you've already responded, go ahead and if you've got questions, you can enter them into our question box, and John and Larissa will have a chance to answer them.
Yeah, we saved the best for last. We love your questions.
Please share your stories.
Okay, just a few more votes hanging out there. They're still voting. I'm going to close it in about 2 seconds.
Look at our voting percentage. 70% are voting.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay. And now we're sharing the answers. And no surprise, everyone's busy and no one has time for this. And leadership. Where's the leadership? And that's one of my first questions, John and Larissa. Oftentimes these initiatives are started by a very, a dynamic leader, and when they leave the organization, oftentimes that's where the initiative and the momentum starts to fail. How do you keep it going, when you lose the person who had the vision, who started this thing and jump-started it, and now others have got to pick up the mantle?
Well, I'll take a start at it. We could do this for an hour, but what you just described there is a very person-centric way of providing services, which is very typical in government. What we do here is we're trying to do a better job of documenting the different positions we have in an organization, and then doing more of a succession planning, a rotation, to get more and more people cross-trained into these different positions. This has taken some time. We're trying to take, our people are excruciatingly important in the positions they do, but when they are totally associated with the process, when the process goes bad, that's when we get into that blame storming mode. So we're trying to respect our people, describe more what their position is, and then do more cross-training to allow others to rotate in. This can be challenging in a collectively bargained world. I've got 19 different collectively bargained units here. But we work our way through this stuff. We can do it. One more comment, Larissa, before you speak. What the survey just showed is that firefighting always wins out over fire prevention. And so much of what we're talking about with lean, continuous improvement, that's fire prevention stuff. How can we do something to our workers' comp program so we're not reacting so much to people not being here, money going out of the county? How do you find the time to fire prevent? And that's where those of you out there listening who are team leaders, who are supervisors, you've got to find a way to carve out a little bit of time to work on this stuff. Sometimes you do need to bring in somebody trained in process mapping and value stream mapping, but you've got to find the time, and you will not have the time. You will get stink eye. People will say, we don't have the time, and they're right. You just got to commit to it, because what happens, you do one of these events, you find out something. Now what you've got to assure you do is be very action-oriented and implement something fast from your 1 hour event, your 2 hour event. And over time, you start saving a half hour here, an hour here. Look with my parks team, taking a 14-day process down to, it's probably down to 0.8 or 0.7 days now. That opens up a lot of capacity, right? But to turn that corner from firefighting, which 55% of you said is one of your biggest challenges, you're spot on. Find the time, carve time away to do a 1 hour event, a 2 hour event, implement something fast, tie it directly to a daily huddle item, and I bet as you start saving 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here, celebrate it. That's how you start opening up fire prevention capability and capacity. That's what I found is the key.
I would just add that leaders are humans too, and the recipe that we gave you for sustaining the momentum works equally well for helping a leader to connect to their own reason to give you the support that you need. So don't assume that they know what you need or what you want. Don't give up. Give them a chance. Hear them as much as you expect them to hear you. And see if any of these tools would kind of rock their boat or open up their minds to the possibilities of what could happen in your organization.
So John, we've got a question for you. Can you tell us more about how you've picked topics for improvement every 2 years? What's the process you go through?
We're just doing it again this year. What we do is we, with those 4 key objectives, the pillars that you saw in that picture, what we decided to do 2 years ago, and we literally made this up. The key is how do I get into the hearts and minds, especially the hearts of my staff. And instead of dictating down from the top, here's what we will work on. And so many organizations in private industry and in government fall into that trap. Where, okay, we're senior execs, we're elected officials, we're going to tell you all what to do. We're ill-informed on this stuff in senior exec ranks, and I'm just, as a senior exec, we don't know what's going on day to day, at the front line. So what we did, and we're going through this right now, our second iteration, but I said, okay, we're going to form one team per key objective, a customer service team. We're going to form a public engagement team. We're going to form a financial stewardship team. No more than 9 people. And it literally, I sent it out to all county. We got about 2,100 people. I said, first 9, first come, first serve, you're on the team. And what their charter was is they only got 1 month. So in 2014, it was the month of October. Starting next week, we got our second, we're redoing the teams with different people. But what we did in 14 is those teams got together 1 month, they created projects, did a brief project charter, they prioritized them, and then we got that team in front of our commissioners. So here's frontline staff. 2 of the teams, my frontline staff folks led the team that had elected officials. Talk about reversing the org structure. That's what's very critical. Then what we did is we got our top 3 priorities from each of those 4 teams. We had 12 projects. Then we did an all-staff survey. We said, all right, all staff, prioritize these. And as we prioritized them, right, number 1 was an enhanced website. Bang, right at the start of 2015, we chartered a project team on enhanced website. I encourage you to go out to our website. It's pretty cool right now. What we're doing, we're as senior execs, we put ourselves in a very teachable mode. We have to be taught from our frontline staff and our supervisors to meet the intent of that 1-page strategic framework, what's got to be done, and now getting people actually involved. So what we do when we form these teams, we train them on project management. We train them on lean. We train them in these things. My natural leaders tend to get attracted to those. And then what we're seeing now is after this very short stint on these county-wide teams is done, now what I'm starting to see in many of my organizations, and this is very intentional, the teams are starting to use structured project management. They're starting to use structured problem solving. They're starting to do on their own process mapping, which is all about employee development. So that's generically and very quickly how we do it. We did it in 2014. Now we're doing it again. What this year's team, starting next week, is going to do is look at how we've done the last 2 years, suggest new projects, get them each in front of the board, put out a new survey in November to all staff. So going into 2017, we have a whole new set of structured prioritized projects, make it visible, connecting the dots, just what Larissa and I have been talking about. So that's how we're doing it here. And if anybody wants more information on this stuff, please contact either Larissa or I.
You know, it's really important that people feel like they have a voice and a choice in what they pick to work on. And it's great to get a signal about what matters and then let people do what they know needs to be done inside their organization. I've seen a lot of examples of employee engagement, probably a topic we're going to take up soon in the Government Performance Consortium. One of the best was they used social media platform to set up very quickly just a place for everybody to say their ideas. They voted each other's ideas up and down. It all happened in a day, and it all happened at the invitation of the mayor, who did this great idea, just put out a little video, had like a Mission Impossible theme. Everybody got a little ticket, like a movie ticket, on their desk, and it encouraged them to go to this website and just say, what do you think we should make better? And it happened very quickly, and you got a snapshot of what was important and what would intrinsically motivate people to get involved in improving something. If you've had a few big ticket Kaizen events and you're really trying to make the leap into making lean an everyday thing, you got to give everybody in the organization a chance to just take a small bite and make something better that really matters to them. So,
okay, with that, we're wrapping up, but before we go, we want to make sure that you know about a couple of opportunities to hear more about from John and Larissa and the Lean Journey. And so, John, you want to talk a little bit about your upcoming gig at the State Government Lean Transformance?
Yes, I hope a lot of you are going to be able to attend this conference. We're very blessed in the state of Washington to have this. So if you'd like to hear more, at least of what we're doing at the county, I've actually got 2 different times I'm going to be giving this presentation on We're Not Robots, Reorganized for Speed, and we'll be touching on this stuff, on how we set up these virtual teams within a very hierarchical structure that every one of us listening is part of right now. So Tuesday at 11 a.m. and Wednesday at 11:45 a.m. If you can make it down to Tacoma, I'd be really honored if you'd attend one of these meetings. We'll go into more detail on this stuff.
so much fun. I want to thank you, John, and for everybody who participated today for sharing your stumbles and your shiny moments and your bright, shiny, noble people. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to tune in today. If you liked this, let us know. You know, download the presentations from today and send them to your friends and teams. Go out onto our Facebook page and like our webinar posting from today. You know, give us all a shout out so we can all know what's working, and stay connected and share more. Come on down to the University of Washington Tacoma on December 8th. Register for our conference. This was offered in response to a lot of local governments going to the big state conference and saying, wow, I'd love, it was all a hallway conversation. When can we get together and talk as locals about how to put these principles into work? So we thought it would be good timing a few weeks after the State Lean Conference to invite everybody in local government who's trying to do Lean to come together. You'll hear from John, you'll hear more stories, we'll give you more how-to, and it's definitely going to be a good time, so I encourage you to register.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you to the State Auditor's Office for sponsoring this Performance Innovation Series.